So you want to go to Japan and maybe you're going this year, next year, or you hope to go someday. Here are 24 things you need to know as a first-time traveler to Japan. As someone who's gone twice this year, and in April it was my first time going, and there were so many things I was blown away by. Number one, there are two Japanese airlines. There's Japan Air and ANA Air. I have gone on both and their service is amazing and you will have Japanese food on your flight. I am from Los Angeles and there are domestic airlines that will fly to Japan, but the airplanes are a lot smaller, so it's up to you on what kind of experience you want to have getting to Japan. If you want to be on a bigger plane, you want to opt for the Asian Airlines, but I definitely recommend going on Japan Air or ANA Air. Number two, from LA, it's actually a 12-hour flight to Japan and then a 10-hour flight on the way back. So I always opt for a more comfortable experience on the way there, but then on the way back, I don't know if it's because of the winds, but you always cut so much time. The Asian Airlines do give you headphones for free to plug into the screen, but I always like to have my AirPods around, so I was trying to look for options of how can I make this work, and you need this. So this is from Me Audio, but basically how it works is you plug it into the headphone jack of the in-flight entertainment screen, and then through Bluetooth it's going to connect to your AirPods or whatever earphones you have. But the beauty of it is that you can actually pair two, so my husband and I can be listening to the same exact movie, Bluetooth operated, and it just goes straight into the entertainment system, literally on any flight. It doesn't even have to be a long flight. So I'll leave a link below if you want to check that out too. Number three, Haneda and Narita are the two major airports in Tokyo, which a lot of people fly into internationally. But in terms of which one, if you can, I highly recommend flying into Haneda instead of Narita, because Narita is literally so far away. So far. And I found that when I was comparing airline ticket prices, a lot of them are comparable. So if you can fly into Haneda, definitely do so. Let's talk about transportation cards. So I have a Suica card, but they also have Pasmo cards. In Japan right now, if you don't already have a physical Suica card, you can't get one because there is a chip shortage and they're not sure when they'll be able to bring these back. But never fear, you can actually download a digital Suica card, and I've seen a lot of locals using that, and a lot of tourists are now moving towards just downloading it on their phone, and then you can reload using Apple Pay. My friend did it in like 5 seconds, but there is a catch. You cannot use Visa for reloading the cards. You must use a MasterCard or American Express. I'm not sure what it is about Japan and Visa, but a lot of the times Visa does not work on the public transportation cards or ticketing machine. There was one time where we were trying to buy a train ticket and I was using my Visa card. It was not working and I didn't know that it has to be MasterCard or American Express, so we ended up using cash. So I like to always have emergency cash on hand in case there's a situation where it does not take card. But again, MasterCard, American Express, or cash. Number five, let's talk about location, and one of the most important questions people ask is, where should I stay in Japan? If you like these tips so far, please hit the subscribe button and join the family. Of course, it depends what you plan on doing, but I always like to pin all the things that I want to do, and wherever I have a huge cluster, that's where I like to stay because that's just gonna save me more time. But in terms of the districts or the regions in Japan, if you want to stay in the hustle and bustle, of course it's Tokyo, and I like to stay in Ginza, Shinjuku, or Shibuya. Now Shibuya, I would equate that to Times Square in New York. It is crazy, there are so many people, it's very congested, but if you want that vibe of feeling like you're in Tokyo and just the hustle and bustle of it all, that's the place to be. Shinjuku is probably like a middle tier of that, and they also have really good food in the area. I like to stay in Ginza. It is a little more pricey. Disney is nearby, and the Toyosu and Tsukiji Outer Market are all really close. But in terms of safety, literally everywhere in Japan is safe. Number six, find a hotel that is near the train station. I guarantee when you are lugging your luggage around, literally a 5-minute walk versus a 10-minute walk makes a huge difference. Try to get a hotel that is near a train station. And if you look at my previous vlogs, I always mention what hotels I stayed at. And all the hotels I've been to, I would stay again because I care about a comfortable bed and that it's clean. Japan has multiple train lines. And I know some people who like to get very specific of, I only want to stay near this specific train line because that's the one I like to take the most. But for me, I literally would just go on the ones that require the least amount of walking. Number seven, the JR Pass. This is only for tourists. Both times I've been to Japan, I actually did not get the JR Pass because because it did not make economical sense because I was not going to use my money's worth on it. But if you plan to go to Tokyo, to Osaka or Kyoto, and then back to Tokyo, it is totally worth it to get the JR Pass. But for me, I was only going to go once and then I was going to fly to Korea from there. But there is a JR Pass calculator so that you can determine all the routes that you want to take and see if you're going to get your money's worth. Number 8, trains are always on time. And Google Maps works perfectly in Japan, which makes a tourist life really easy. There were also a lot of English signs and Korean signs all throughout the train lines, so you'll be able to know exactly what you're supposed to do. And when in doubt, when you're not sure what train you're supposed to go on, I always look at the time because that is how punctual they are. Number 9, let's talk about the culture of Japan. Japan is so clean. So clean. And as tourists, I think we really need to take responsibility. Let them keep it that way. So there are no trash cans anywhere, and yet they keep everything so clean. So be prepared to hold your trash. There's this one story where my friends and I, we got ice cream. It was a huge ice cream and we couldn't finish it. So in the restaurant, it says that you can dispose the cone and the wrapper, but there's no place to put the ice cream. So I was like, that's okay, I'll just take it with me. And as my ice cream is literally melting all over my hands, I was like, okay, we have to throw this away somewhere, but I don't know where. So we're literally running around the streets looking for a trash can, no trash cans. So finally we walked into some other restaurant and they had just a regular, where you could put everything in there type of trash can. But we tried really hard to make sure that we are just hooligans and just tossing it wherever. Number 10, that goes to my next point where you can't eat in public. You should not be walking and eating. It is considered rude there. And a good indicator is that if a place has a trash can, then they're okay with you eating there because you have to toss it. You also want to be mindful of body language, and if someone's looking at you and they're kind of like, don't do that, then don't do it. Because I walked into a 7-Eleven, I opened my onigiri in the store, and the worker told me like, can't eat here. So I was like, oh, sorry. Number 11, talk quietly when you're in public transportation or anytime you're in public in a group or a room. In Japan, everybody's really big on not being a public disturbance. So I was at the airport and everyone was so quiet. And I called my husband and I was whispering really quietly, and he was like, aren't you at the airport? And I was like, yeah, no one really talks, so I have to be quiet. Number 12, finish all your food. It's actually considered rude to not finish the food because then they think you didn't like it. I know in tourist areas they're probably a lot more used to it, but this is why Japanese food tends to be in smaller portions because the expectation is that you'll finish it. Number 13, you do not tip on anything. They do not have a tipping culture, so you do not have to tip and you don't have to feel bad about not tipping. Number 14, anytime you are giving a card or your phone to the taxi driver, anything like that, you want to place it on the tray and then they'll take it from the tray. Don't hand it to them. Although in a lot of the touristy areas, I have noticed that the workers are now accepting it in their hands, but in a lot of the rural areas, they still expect you to put it on the tray and then they'll pick it up from the tray. Number 15, hotels. Hotels in Japan are small, unless you want to ball out, but on a budget, you're going to find that they are all super clean, but they are tiny. So if you are bringing, 4 luggages, it's going to be very hard to open all of them in your room. Number 16, to help with that, you can actually literally ship anything anywhere in Japan. So my friend, she had a huge check-in luggage and a small carry-on, and she decided to just take a few of her clothes, put it in her carry-on, and she shipped her check-in luggage from one hotel to another hotel, and it was literally there the next day. But even if you go to a store and you're buying a bunch of stuff, they have options for you to ship it to your hotel. I only saw this in a couple of hotels in first Japan trip, but some of the pillows have beads or beans in them. So it's not cotton, but they're made out of like a ton of beans. So don't be alarmed if your hotel has that. They do have an option though for a fluffy down pillow. Number 18, in Japan, they have bidets everywhere. Like pretty much every hotel is a bidet. And my friend told me a few years ago, they used to have a lot of squatty potties and they just quickly revamped and changed all the toilets so quickly. And you will not find seat covers in Japan, but you'll find toilet paper, and they have a sanitizer where you can sanitize the seat. 19, shopping. You can actually get tax exempt right away now at stores. So carry your passport around when you are shopping. I walked into Uniqlo Uniqlo, I literally picked out my clothes and they asked me, do you have a passport? And I said yes. And they already took off the tags right away. So you don't have to go to the airport and claim it at customs. Number 20, so Japan has been notorious for having people wait in long lines. People are just very much okay with waiting. Or they have a ticketing system where you have to go a little bit earlier before they open, grab a ticket, and then you wait for your ticket to be called. Nowadays, there are more restaurants taking reservations, and I always like to look on Google to see if they have reservation systems. These are some of the websites that I use to make reservations at a restaurant. It just makes your life so much easier because then you know I don't have to wait hungry. When looking at food reviews, anything that's above 3 stars is considered good in Japan because I heard that the Japanese food scene is just so competitive and people give no mercy. Number 21, there's actually not a lot of vegetables in a lot of the meals that I ate. The only time I had a plethora of vegetables was when I had shabu shabu, which makes sense. But pretty much any other vegetable is going to be pickled or fried like tempura. So keep that in mind if you love your greens. Number 22, a lot of the restaurants will close in the middle of the day, so make sure you always check to see their hours. Some of them are only open for dinner, some of them will open in the morning, close all day and open again for dinner. So you want to make sure that you're not disappointed when you get there, so check ahead. Number 23, whenever you go indoors other than restaurants, you are going to have to take off your shoes. Even at the airport, when they have us take off our shoes, they had slippers on the side so that you don't have to walk barefoot. But in a hotel, the expectation is that you're taking off your shoes and that you're wearing the house slippers instead. Number 24, don't put your backpack or your luggage in another seat when you're on public transportation because then you're taking up a potential spot for someone else to be able to sit down. And if you're in a really crowded train, the expectation is that everybody moves to the inside and they keep the outsides open for the next person to sit. So in Japan, everybody is just very conscientious of other people. If you're walking this way, you go on this side. And if you're walking this way, you go on this side. Everybody just follows a system and you want to be respectful of that and not stick out like a sore thumb. So if it is your first time going to Japan, I hope you have the best time, or if one day you hope to go there, I definitely think it's worth it. I love Korea, but Japan has come up real fast and I really love Japan too. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe and I'll see you later. Bye!